I grew up knowing that I needed to read law so that I might understand how to navigate the lawless country in which I would have to survive. And my understanding of that law says that I should be for now. There is a gag order saying that I mustn't speak to the case before the magistrate court in Ekiti. And elements of my arrest speaks directly to that case. As you will be aware, the charges of, was it cyber stalking or I don't know cyber what I was supposed to have committed, have been lifted at the last adjourned date. That was was that Wednesday or Thursday? I'm not sure now, 29th. This one too, I should be before the magistrate on the 13th of February. So I promise I will come back and talk to you about that part. But the part related to the prison, I promised my fellow inmates, you understand? I promised them, you know what I'm saying? I promised them that whenever I will tell their story, it will be as a comedy. Because there are way too many tragedies within the correctional system. And if I cannot do anything to help resolve the many challenges that I saw there, I shouldn't do anything to exacerbate the situation. I saw prison officers spending their own monies on drugs for sick inmates. If there was a system that cared, there is no reason why an underpaid officer would have to be spending his own money to take care of inmates. So I saw a lot that we should talk about, and we definitely will. But I promised my fellow inmates that it will be treated in a comedic fashion. But I assure you, there are many stories from that Ado-Ekiti prison. You'll laugh yourself silly. But we're not in a season where anything is really funny if you think about it. So, but don't let me waste your time.
I want us to talk about, prison, because a lot of people, I think Fela was noted to have said that's the time where they inside prison, are they for inside the world, the time where they outside prison, are they for outside world, the Chris world,
We call it
world. So let's talk about that, inside world as well, 21 days is no joke. Let's talk about the prison memoirs.
Right. There is something I do. Maybe it's peculiar to me as a writer, or maybe other writers have the same predilection. But what I find is that when I intend to write about something, I deliberately keep it bottled up. Not that I won't talk to you about it, but there are just way too many things to talk about in relation to my prison experiences. But what I can say to you is this. I heard the average Nigerian, even whilst I was in prison. One of the most effective mode of communication in prison are radios. Prisoners have radios. They are allowed radios. So you are kept abreast of what is happening in the wider world. Before I got to prison, everybody in prison already knew who I was and what I was alleged to have done. So I wasn't entering the prison unknown. And I was blessed to meet I must say that a lot of people within the human rights community, particularly the old-timers, had already established for me what I was to expect whenever I went to prison. And prison was always an expectation for me. I always knew it was something that I should expect. In fact, it's probably the least of the many things that the Nigerian state and its many powers could do to you. So I went to prison knowing what to expect, but they exceeded my expectation. From officers to inmates, I was treated most humanely by everybody that I came into contact with. I was actually more concerned about the people that I was interacting with on a day-to-day basis. I had 10 other persons in the cell with me. There were 11 of us in my cell. And that, I was told, was one of the better ones in the place. I think the place was built to hold probably about 250 or so. It's holding over 800 inmates, as at the time I was there. The rations are basic. If anybody had to depend on the rations, they'd be dead within 6 months at the most. The rations themselves predisposes you to multiple opportunistic diseases of all sorts. The healthcare, most basic and rudimentary at best. And this cannot be blamed on the officers there. It's simply a function of the fact that the federal government runs prisons in this stupid federation that we tell ourselves that we're running. The federal government runs prisons, but it is the states that keep dumping people in prison without having to provide for their welfare. So you have a situation that is completely messy. If the states have to maintain their prisons, probably they would have better sentencing guidelines than the ones that I saw operated in that space. You had a person in prison spending 9 years because he stole a goat, and the goat was valued. The magistrate asked him how much he sold the goat. He said 9,000, and he got 9 years for stealing a goat.
When the politician that steals billions goes scot-free, they never go to prison.
You're the one using the word steal. They don't use the word steal. They've laundered the crime. They call it corruption now. It's a well-laundered crime. It's called corruption. You and I will call it stealing, we'll call it altering, we'll call it forgery, we'll call it advance fee fraud, we'll call it outright stealing of public funds. Breach of public trust. We'll call it many names, but the truth of the matter is that we are the ones who are busy with those nomenclature. As far as the system is concerned, it's just corruption, which is a family affair. And because it is corruption, it must not attract any punishment.
Let's talk about the impact. Let's talk about the impact prison had on your wife and your parents.
Well, put it this way. I am blessed to have married not just a woman who loves me, but I am married to my friend. So my wife knew that I've already given up myself to the cause to which I have committed my life. She's resigned to that knowledge. 4 years ago, this month, it was a viable murder plot that was revealed to us. Last year, it was imprisonment that became my lot. The fact of the matter is that my wife was always prepared for any and all eventualities. It doesn't mean that it makes it any more palatable when it now happens. It was, of course, a very traumatic thing for her. I kept insisting that she mustn't come to Ado-Ekiti because I didn't want to put her through the trauma of traveling by road. Eventually, against my continuing insistence that she shouldn't come, she found her way to Ado-Ekiti prison. And she confessed to me the following day that was the first time she managed to sleep for longer than 1 hour. She slept for like 10 straight hours after she left me in prison and went back to our hotel. You know why? She found that the same person who left home that morning was the same person she found in the prison. Because the reality of the matter is that, Rufai, you don't do what we do without having prepared your mind for the worst that the system can throw at you. I go to my bed every evening, thankful to God that I made it to my bed, but prepared to meet my maker before the morning. And I leave my house every morning, thankful to God that I made it up. I leave my house and prepared my mind that I might not very well come back into that home because it might please my maker to allow that it be the last. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be at the hand of a murderer. It might very well be that I'll be sat at my table in my office like my brother, Ogunlano, and simply meet my maker. So it's not something that my loved ones worry about as far as my existential safety and all of that is concerned. It's not something that is pleasant to them, but it's something that, yeah, it was not a very pleasant.
I want to ask, how particular did your mom take it?
Oh, Yawali. My mom is, let me put it this way. She's a warrior. I got my instinctive, or shall I say reflexive, hatred of oppression from my mom. However, she's also a warrior. Where any of her children are concerned, my mom can worry for Africa. And I doubt that she slept a wink during that season. I deliberately avoided calling her whilst I was in prison, even though the average prisoner can make calls through the welfare system. I did call my wife, I did speak with my lawyers, but I deliberately avoided calling my mom because I always knew that that was a weak link. I didn't want to call her and then have somebody, because I knew that however much she might weep, it wouldn't break my own resolve. But I didn't want her breaking down and then me ending up sounding like the uncaring son. So I didn't go anywhere near. So she was most affected, if the truth be told. And then there was my son, my autistic son, my last born. My wife kept telling me whilst I was in prison, he kept going around the house looking for daddy, They tried their best to explain, okay, so daddy traveled, but this didn't seem like daddy traveling because he didn't see daddy leave the house with any luggage. Daddy didn't say goodbye the night before. There was no basis for thinking that daddy wasn't going to come back home. And then daddy wasn't home, and then he wasn't home for 3 weeks. So for him, even though he doesn't have the words to express it, my wife did explain the level of trauma the young man suffered. He kept going into my bathroom to check if I was in there, And when I got back home, he's not a young man given to much expression of emotions. But he came hugging me, He came hugging me. He was one of the very first to meet me at the door. So for my mom, my son, my daughter was writing her law school exam at the time that I was picked up. It wasn't exactly a very pleasant time for any one of my family members.
Let's quickly talk about what you're doing for people with autism, a charity side to you that you're trying to do for people with autism, because like you mentioned your son, because that's a project that I think can impact a lot of people, parents that have children with autism. Before we now come back and talk about how did you react to people that betrayed you when you were in prison, because a lot of betrayal happened. In fact, a lot of people don't know that people that felt like they were fighting the loudest, they were speaking the loudest, were the one betraying the most. We're not going to mention names here, but a lot of betrayal happened. But let's talk about that project you're doing for the center you're planning to build for autistic children that can help society and all of that.
I lost you for a few seconds. I got you up to the point where you were talking about those. I lost you for a few seconds. I heard you up to the point where you said.
Let's talk about the Center for Autistic Children that you are working at, and probably if people want to join you on this great project. Then secondly, we'll talk about betrayals.
Okay, so here is the thing. I don't want to, because we have such little time. What I'll explain is this. I have a son who is now 18 years old. He's autistic, right? And so we've dealt with that challenge since the last 18 years. Now, I'm not a particularly wealthy man, but I am sufficiently blessed that I can take care of my children, my wife, and my immediate needs. But I know how much it has cost me in resources in order to provide what is at best the most basic of care in Nigeria. There are simply no facilities of note for the care of autistic children in Nigeria, whether that be privately owned or whether that be government owned. In fact, there's basically nothing that is government owned. They have the most rudimentary of facilities. So having to care for my son privately in the last 18 years, my wife has had to give up her own life, more or less. There have been times when they've had to go to South Africa for a month every 2 months. So like 3-4 times in a year, they spend a whole month in South Africa. How many Nigerians can afford that? I did that for years. To get diagnosis, we had to go to America when he was much younger. So I look at the total amount that we've had to spend over the years, and now that he's approaching adulthood at 18, there is really nothing left in the system for him. There has been nothing left in the system for him for some time, at least known to us. So we were already thinking of, okay, so now we have to move him abroad at least for a year so that he will learn functional skills so that he might be able to take care of himself as he progresses into manhood. And then I saw the costs. And these costs were coming around in the age when Buhari had already destroyed the economy and just as Bulaba was taking over the saddle. And then I looked at this cost and I realized that there is no way I couldn't afford it any longer. And even if I were to be able to afford it, how many other persons will be able to afford it? So I decided that we'll try and pull resources together in Nigeria, bring as many of the experts as we can find within Nigeria for the benefit of our son and for as many other persons as would require this, because there is simply nothing available in the country. So we were already thinking of this. We registered the foundation over a year ago, long before I wrote the book. I ceded land out of some land that I own in the free trade zone axis. I gave land for the construction of a center. We are still in that infancy stage where we are designing and trying to put something together when the book was launched in June. Now, I wrote a book knowing that there are bound to be reactions. People are bound to get emotional and angry and everything. And I didn't want to end up having to be responding to, oh, he wrote the book in order to enrich himself. Anniversary, it was already available for free download. The second book became available for free download within 6 months. So this one wasn't written for money either. So on the day of the launching, I announced specifically that all proceeds will go to this charity that I set up for the care of autistic children. In Nigeria, all proceeds have been going directly into the account of that charity. The only money that is outstanding is the one that is to be repatriated when Amazon might have made the payment. We've been affected by the interim injunctions that were procured up and down the length of Nigeria whilst I was in prison, which has meant that we cannot sell the books in Nigeria. Maybe if we had been able to sell the books in Nigeria, we might have been able to augment the account of the foundation, but we'll see how long that lasts. Now, when it comes to the issue of betrayal, you see, I have never believed in votrons. Votrons are those who personalize the struggle for liberty. So you may betray Voltrons. I am not a Voltron. So nobody betrayed me. The only thing they betrayed were their own ideals, their own professed principles, their hypocrisy was brought to the fore. I look at all of them and I simply laugh. I laugh at their consciences. There are still a lot of ongoing betrayals, quote and unquote, but they are betrayals of consciences, not of my person. I cannot be betrayed. I never place my trust in any one of them, if the truth be told. My trust has always been since. Even as you've heard me just define for you, all is the ideas and ideals that I stand for, that I believe that we share. So if they have betrayed those ideals and ideas, it is their consciences that they have betrayed, not me. I wasn't betrayed.
Okay.
I expected nothing more.
I'd like to ask you this question. With all you have gone through, is Nigeria worth dying for?
Is Nigeria
worth dying for with all you have gone through?
See, I don't want to die for Nigeria. No. But I'm prepared to die for my beliefs, my ideals, for the truth. I'm not interested in which Nigeria am I supposed to die for? The same one that sent soldiers to the toll gates to come and murder protesting, armless civilians? Is that the Nigeria I'm supposed to be dying for? The same Nigeria that hauled me across 6 state lines to go and face a non-existent... Look, is that the Nigeria? No. There is a Nigeria that is worth dying for, and that is the Nigeria where my beliefs, my principles, my truth, the same that must be of universal application if you are standing for the truth, where a collection of them can be heard, where the country is built on egalitarian principles. That is the Nigeria that I can die for, not this one. So I'm standing up and speaking to the truth of what I believe, not necessarily because I don't want to die for this Nigeria. It's not worth dying for. Anyone dying for this Nigeria is dying for a lie.
Do you think that 2027 elections might be different from 2023 elections, or you think the politicians will hijack it again? And what's your take on this obedient movement, Peter Obi, a lot of people talking about back and forth, infighting in the Labour Party? What's your take on all of that? And Obi's chances in 2027 and this grand coalition these politicians are talking about again? Do you think 2027 election will change anything, or they will just go ahead and just do it the way they normally do it?
You see, Yorubas have a proverb. They say, bí ọjọ́ ṣe máa rí, àárọ̀ láti mọ̀. How the day would progress or turn out will be predicted by the morning. Anybody waiting until 2027 has already lost 2027. It is critical that the Nigerian voice must be heard. It is critical that our votes must count. In the absence of an assurance of the sanctity of our electoral rights, in the absence of a clear and unambiguous statement in law that makes it clear that there must be clear transmission of results from Beavers to IREV, that there must be independent candidacy to take away the monetized delegate system, and that there must the diaspora voting, in the absence of a democratization of the process of election itself, it's a waste of time. You already have a situation where Wike's cousin, or was it his nominee, his former, somebody connected to him was the one conducting elections in Edo State as the resident electoral commissioner. What do you expect? What kind of result are you expecting? Even if the people are selling their votes, let them be able to sell an effective franchise. Let the vote count. When we've done that, we can start talking about all these grand coalitions. I don't believe in any one of those fraudulent platforms. It is the people themselves we need to be uniting, not politicians. Politicians are already united. The only thing that disunites politicians are usually the sharing arrangement and formula. Whether the Labour Party is disintegrating, I can't care less. I am not a member of their party. None of these parties have any ideological root, and they are not connected to the people. If they are connected to the people, they should be focused on ensuring that there is electoral reform, not all this stupid infighting that is orchestrated by who is getting to share what and who is jostling for what post. I can't care less about what is happening amongst them. As far as the obedience are concerned, what I know, and I have said repeatedly, is that long before there was a Mr. Peter Obi, there was already an obedient movement. It is that same movement that was there during NSAS. It is merely a collection of Nigerians who are disenchanted.
So real quickly, I want to ask you something. Baba Kode said recently that it was the obedient movement that caused NSAS, that they started it from America to orchestrate against Tinubu. What's your reaction to what Baba Kode said? He also said that Nigerians that say they are hungry is because they are lazy. Then finally, he also said that Bola Ige's death was state murder. What's your take on those three items?
Well, look at it this way. If we were talking about a man I don't know or to whom I don't have access, probably I might be a little uncharitable in my response. But I know the family. Let me just put it that way. If I have something to say to Baba Akande, I'll probably call the son who was my classmate in the law school. But let me also extend this as well. I am a Yoruba boy, raised by people who were already in their 70s by the time they were given charge over me. At that age, a man in his 80s is already subject to the vagaries of senility. Because if not, he would have known that there was no obedient movement as at 2020. What there were and what they are still had today are Nigerians who have been distanced from Nigeria by the fact that Nigeria has victimized them. That collective remains there. But to be saying that it was the obedient movement funded, no, those are clear words coming from an old man who is clearly not in complete control of his faculties. The last part of it is him saying that it is state murder. Well, it wouldn't surprise me. Every murder in Nigeria should be treated as state murder. And even more so, his brother and best friend is the president today, and he has access to all kinds of secret files. Let him tell us who the murderers are. I would love to know. A lot of people will be interested in knowing. At least now we know that it's not them, Baba, Debanjo, and Co that killed. He says it's state murder. Let him tell us who and who. He should tell us more. Abi?
Okay. You know, because I'm a man of my word, I promised 30 minutes on the dot, and it's exactly 30 minutes because I know you are going to go and prepare for your own broadcast on the Dele Farotimi page on YouTube. I say thank you so much. As the Yorubas will say, Shoki Lobeoge, and I have to be 30 minutes on the dot. So thank you so much. In fact, and that's why I didn't take calls, because I know if I take calls,
I'll give you one shot.
yes. Eh? You give me
I'll
one
give you
shot.
one shot and then I'll say bye.
Okay, you give me one shot to say bye bye. Okay, real quickly. Another one I would like to bring to your notice is the case of this Sharia conversation we are hearing in the Southwest as we speak. We have been hearing a lot of explanation. Sharia Community Council is different from Sharia court and everything. What's your take on this matter? As before I let you go.
Now I'm wishing that I didn't give you this final thing.
Sorry.
For a long, no, it's fine. For a long time, I've had this policy. I say, if you don't want the answer, don't ask the question. Now, this is one question I'm now wishing I hadn't been asked, but I will answer it since it's been asked. But I will answer it very briefly. In a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious society such as Nigeria, one that was founded on the principles of federalism, but has now emerged and become a feudal state found on Islamic instincts. I think the Yoruba Muslim would have to decide what he is first. Is he a Yoruba man or a Muslim? That is the question the Yoruba man who is a Muslim would have to answer for himself. There are so many issues connected to the question you have asked, and we really don't have sufficient time to deal with it. Religion has been weaponized amongst Nigerians, and it has today become a wedge issue amongst the Yorubas. A people who have never been divided by religion have today made religion front and center in their discourse. So all I will say is this: let the Yoruba man who is a Muslim decide, let him think deeply, that within this Nigerian conclave, what is he first? Is he first a Muslim or is he first a Yoruba man? I think I'll leave my answer.
So as we wrap up this conversation on Sharia in Southwest, your advice is Yoruba Ronu, like about Baba Ogunde said back in the days. Yoruba Ronu. Is that your answer? Final answer?
I believe that would be a good way to sum it up. Yoruba need láti ronú very deeply. Are you a Yoruba man first or a Muslim first? Within the context of the Nigerian state, which is no longer a federation, but has become a feudal state.
And are you saying this as the new National Organizing Secretary of a divided Afenifere? Have you saying this as the new National Organizing Secretary of a divided Afenifere?
No, please. Rufai, I am a man who does not fall for frauds. That some people have gathered themselves together and appropriated the name Afenifere to themselves does not make them Afenifere. I can decide to call myself, those who, for instance, prefer to say that I'm Igbo in order to delegitimize what I say. It doesn't make me any less Yoruba than I am, just because they say that I am Igbo. Do you understand? So that some people gather themselves together somewhere and are calling themselves Afenifere. I beg, I don't have time for them.
So you're saying you with Baba, with Baba, not Baba Fashion faction now. You with Baba.
There are no factions. No. Rufai, please. I will not dignify that beer parlor discussion that the Akure people will prefer that me and you are having. There are no factions in Afenifere. Some political jobbers would prefer that we be talking about factions in Afenifere. What is Afenifere? Afenifere is the Yoruba name for the action group. Afenifere is the Yoruba name for the Unity Party. Afenifere is the Yoruba name for the Alliance for Democracy. It is not the name of a socio-cultural organization. We might have masqueraded as one during the military interregnum, but we are not.
Is it also the Yoruba name for the ACN or APC?
Certainly not. Certainly not. Look, Rufai, at some point, we're definitely going to be having this discussion when we have a whole lot more time. But understand this. Some people would prefer that you thought of Afenifere as a socio-cultural organization. But that is not what it is. Not all Yorubas belong to Afenifere. At no point has Afenifere spoken for all Yorubas. That is why you have Egbe Omo Odua. That is why you have concerned Yoruba elders. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yorubas have never coalesced inside Afenifere as one. Afenifere is the Yoruba name for the action group.
But let me just get this right. But people like them, Tinubu, when they were in AD, Egbe then, they were big members of Afenifere. When he was running for presidency, he came back to his Afenifere fold. That's why the likes of Papa Shorty.
No.
They are all part of Afenifere area, Afenifere area, Afenifere area, Afenifere area.
Rufai.
Yes.
Those who would prefer that Yorubas be enslaved would be happy to buy the fraud being sold by Tinubu and his co-travelers in Akure. I really would have no time to be discussing the shenanigans in Akure because it is this kind of exchange that gives oxygen to that fraud. Baba Fashoranti was the leader of the party. He resigned. And Chief Ayo Adebanjo became our leader. When it was time for Tinubu to run for the presidency, knowing that he could not come anywhere near Chief Ayo Adebanjo and those of us with him, he went and resurrected Baba Fashoranti, who had retired on account of old age, specifically senility. He then went and paid him a visit, and I was suspended as at that time dismissed National Publicity Secretary and the organizing secretary used Baba Fashoranti as a prop because they needed him for their own political adventure. Please, as far as I'm concerned, let them continue to tell the world that they are Afenifere. The world knows who and who are Afenifere. Tinubu used Afenifere when it was convenient for him. By 2022, 2023, and by 2002, 2003, he had already rejected anything to do with Afenifere, and he worked assiduously in concert with others to kill the AD. So somebody who has done that since about
so let me just get
ago.
this right. You are the authentic national organizing secretary of Afenifere, but Fashoranti and other journeymen in Ondo are fraudulent. Is that what you are saying?
I'm saying so without any hesitation. As far as they have, I'm saying so without any hesitation.
So you are saying the man of over 90 years is a fraud with his own people.
What I said to you, I said he resigned on account of old age, bordering on senility. Those are my words. Okay. And I said that these men have gone to use him as a prop to defraud. If a person has resigned, how does he come back from retirement to retake the reign of leadership when the person who took over from him is not dead? The deputy leader, the general secretary of the organization, everybody, the General Assembly, all of us are there, and we reaffirmed his leadership at multiple points. So why you see, Rufai, I actually regret offering you that extra question, and I'll say
Oh yeah,
why.
I'm sorry. Let's
You
end.
know why I say so. We've dignified people who are not deserving of any attention with time. The
I
people
can
know
imagine.
who their leaders are, and it will emerge with
Okay.
time. That's the
Okay.
truth. They are a waste of
One
my time
one
and
quick
yours.
one quick word as we go. Say a word to everybody that spoke for you as we wrap up. 1 minute. Everybody that spoke for you. Say a word to them as we wrap up.
Never lose your voices. Keep your voices, because the battles have just begun. Keep your
Thank
voice.
you so
Have them
much.
amplified. Never lose your voices.
Thank you
Stay
so much.
focused, eh?
Thank you so much. Let me let you go do your show.
You're
And
welcome.
please, everybody from here, go straight to Dele Farotimi's page on YouTube, as he'll be starting his very powerful show this Sunday morning by 10 o'clock. He starts his musings by 9:50, and the show is always a powerful text. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you, my great Dele Farotimi, for joining us today. Let's take some reactions. 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. Let's take some quick reactions. Let's take some quick reactions. 018-099-1991. So let's take some quick reactions. 018-099-1991. Hello, how are you?
Hello, good morning.
Morning, what's your name, real quickly?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, I can hear you. 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Morning, bless you. What's your name?
Yeah, my name is Shaik.
Turn up the volume of your radio set for me, please. Turn it up.
Okay, I'll do that right away.
Saeed, no worry. When you do it, you can call us back. 0818-099-1991. Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Please turn up the volume of your radio set.
Okay, good morning.
Morning, go ahead, yeah.
My name is Kelechi.
Kelechi, your reaction to the Dale Farotimi interview, the exclusive one.
Yes. It's actually revealing. It's something I've always looked forward to hearing, especially since after the incident of the terror. Yeah. So I'm quite inspired. My spirit is really high. I am not feeling defeated in any way, because subject in question is also still very much enhanced there. So it's a big win for every young person like myself who have also stood tall behind truth. And listening to Dele Farotimi is actually inspired. Thank you so much, Dele, for all you do, especially to keep truth afloat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate you. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Jude. I'm calling from Ajawi State.
Yes, great to have you.
I really appreciate your show this morning, and I really want to thank Mr. Dele Farotimi for his resilience and for him being outspoken. I don't really know. I want to ask this question: what does it take for someone to be good to be real? How come Nigeria has deteriorated to the extent that even elders no longer say the truth anymore? I really don't understand, but because it's really weighing a lot of people down, that nobody can stand up and speak the truth without being victimized. Dele Farotimi for his strong will to go through all this and still standing strong. He said we shouldn't lose our voice. And we're not going to lose our voice. We still keep amplifying our voice, and our voice must be heard. Thank you so much for this show. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I thank Mr. Dele Farotimi for granting us that interview.
Hello,
how are
good morning.
you? Bless you.
Good morning.
Morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Said Adeyemo.
Great to have you.
Yeah. I listened to the interview granted by our discussion by Dele Farotimi, and I really share his feelings and principles. However, the aspect of Sharia that you asked him about, I feel it's unfortunate the way he answered it by saying the average Yoruba Muslim should ask himself if he's Yoruba or Muslim. You see, when we talk of a multi-ethnic, multi-religious state, and the Constitution says that people have freedom to practice whatever they believe, and this Sharia we're talking about is not meant for those who are not Muslims. It's for Muslims, and it's meant for relationships concerning marriages and all that. You see, why should those who are not Muslims be concerned about that when the Constitution recognizes, customary Sharia as well as, common law? So we should try not to be mischievous in this aspect. To give peace a chance, except when this law that the Constitution, because the Muslim constitutes, their population in this nation is not insignificant, and if they want something that the Constitution provides and is not affecting any other, why should anybody be against it? You see, to give this a chance, people should be allowed to
thank you so much for your views. We have to take other calls. Thank you so much. We'll get the slant of your view. Let's take other calls. Hello, how are you? Hello? 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. We'll take a couple of other calls. I don't know, that call just didn't fall in. Then we'll wrap up this segment, then we'll clear other segments. Hello, how are you? I'll have to let you go, please. Before you call us up, turn off the volume of your radio set. 0818-099-1991. Hello, how are you?
Good morning, sir.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Sunday by name.
Okay.
I'm calling from Lagos.
Lagos is a big place. Where in Lagos are you calling from?
Ikeja.
Go ahead, talk to me.
Please, I want to talk about this Sharia stuff that they are talking about in Western, in Southwest. In fact, those things that are happening in the North, that means they are trying to transfer it back to the Southwest in order to cause confusion, cause conflict, cause crisis. How will you bring Sharia law in a complexity of a society like Southwest, whereby you will see the same house, we have Muslims, we have Christians, and Muslims are married Christians, and Christians are married Muslims, and you are talking about Sharia law. How are you going to manage that? Now, in the North, a Christian cannot marry a Muslim, and only Muslim can marry Christian. And here we are mixing together, we are celebrating everything together freely. There is nothing like whether this one is a Muslim, is a Christian, and how can a Southwest accept those kind of things?
Okay,
serious confusion.
Thank you so much. We need to take other calls. I appreciate you. Hello, how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Rufai.
Morning. What's the name? Where are you calling from? Quickly.
This is Chiefs from Amuku, from Lagos. Please, I actually want to thank you for bringing in this obedient question, because after 2020, and I thank God for the answering from our God over there. Honestly, there was nothing like obedient movement after then. So telling the whole world as an elderly man, telling the whole world that it's an obedience that caused the answer, is misleading. This man is misleading people. So we really need to be educated. Let this program continue so that we will continue to see. I actually just want to thank the office.
Thank you so much. 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. You can watch the continued show still on our YouTube page and keep listening. And if you want to play that interview again, it's right there on our page, YouTube page, Voice of the People. 90.3 FM, 90.3. Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. My name is Sunday. I'm calling from Elasa.
Good to have you, Sunday.
Please, I love the question you asked him. You asked him, can he die for Nigeria? He said it is not what to die for Nigeria. This type of Nigeria. I love that. Then I want you to clarify me more. There are some elements in the meeting that Yoruba elders come together to ask my brother to release it. Is there any truth in that?
They asked what?
Hello?
They asked what? What did you say? I didn't hear that.
Yoruba elders come together to beg my brother to release it. Is there any truth in that?
No, there were some kings that went to. They said they interceded with Afeba Balola. There were some kings, yes, where the Oni of Ife and other people were part of that. So that was it.
So he was not released based on the truth. Released because the elders come together.
No, it was not. No, it was not because the elders came together. They released him. The court gave him a bail. It was granted bail long before that. The elders just came to say, okay, Afeba Balola should drop the case against him. But they had long been granted bail. It's not because they begged. That's why they granted him bail. Court processes prevailed. Yeah. Hello, how are you?
Hello, this is Omobola.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Canada.
Canada is a big country, over 9 million square kilometers of land.
I'm calling from Winnipeg in Manitoba.
The cold is much. Hope you are not feeling cold.
Yeah, this is. We are used to it. I'm already 3 years here. This is my 3rd year. So.
It is well. Go ahead, talk to us.
Thank you. Yeah, I watched the program and I'm happy to connect. And I'm happy to hear his voice once again, and voice of wisdom and reason. So, yeah, what I want to say is.
Ooh, we lost that. 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. 0818-099-1991. Please save that number because that's always the number at which you can get us. 0818-099-1991. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Great to have you.
This is Rufai speaking.
Where are you calling from, Rufai?
I'm calling from my two.
From where?
From my two.
My two, go ahead, talk to us quickly.
I'm in support with what the first man said. That there are some major people called offenders. So I just want to say something that is important. The message go to Mr. President that he should know that one day will be for anybody that has power. That will not and cannot do anything again. And what I want to tell you that Yoruba says if Taliban law whether if tomorrow this is not under a president, we will like to listen to what he will say to the that is power there.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you. Hello, how are you?
Hello, good morning, Rufai.
What's your name? Where are you calling from, sir?
This is MC Bright from Papa.
Okay, go ahead.
I've been listening to your conversation. It's quite interesting. I love people that say the truth in boldness because I'm a man of truth. And it's always good to speak truth to power. So if you're welcome, it's highly recommended. Thank you for the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll wrap it up there. We'd like to thank the crew, the back end crew, thank God, and the other guys, and Austin from the back end. Then we'll play other excerpts that we've sent and we prepared in the other part of the show to be able to nourish your body. You know, normally, yes, it's supposed to be my preaching session, but we just had to do this exclusive interview with Dele Farotimi. You can listen to it again on VOP 90.3 FM on YouTube. I know it's going to generate a lot of reactions. A lot of the papers and the blogs are definitely going to pick up on one or two things that he says, and we'll be getting stories out there. Definitely, like Dele did promise, we'll still have him back here. Probably when some other court cases get some level of clarity. He has a lot to say. And we keep hosting a lot of people, you know, from time to